Well, hello and welcome to week 5 of the WTRL. We're here for America West for the Community League. I'm Kate Bates. I'm joined tonight by the one and only, the legend that is Dave Toll. Dave, how are you today?
You always make me feel so welcome, Kate. This is going to be awesome. I love this course. I know that you have watched a lot of racing out here, as have I. Not a better test I have seen in the team time trial than the Mighty Met. That is for sure. It's only 20K, but wow, you're going to find out. It's like riding a tandem bike with your partner. You're going to find out whether you like being on this team or not out here today.
That's actually a very good way to describe it. We started with APAC last night and there were some serious fireworks. Dave, I feel like some of the riders in the following leagues, of course, America and EMEA, maybe watched a bit of that and did a bit of recon because they look to be in slightly better shape in terms of team strategy today than they did last night. Let's take a bit of a closer look at the course. The way you describe it makes it sound almost as brutal as I think it actually is. 20 kilometres they've got with a 400-metre run in. And Dave, that KOM looks pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's even longer than advertised. At 1.1K, it's really more like 1.4K. There's a couple flat sections. There's even a tiny moment where you go downhill, and that brings the average down. But they put it on paper at 5.7, but it feels like a good 9% grade out there. This sorts it out for you, no doubt. That comes right at the midpoint of the course too. We'll have 3 different checks as far as intermediate time zones today, and that 10-kilometer check is right at what they call the reverse KOM out here on this. You know, a lot of people came into this, Kate, with trepidation. This course struck fear in the hearts of many time trials, and I think a lot of riders have overcome that fear, to tell you the truth, and performed much better than they thought they would on this course.
Well, it sounds like quite a nice jaunt around Central Park and New York, but I can tell you it's not quite that pleasant. As you say, the slopes up that reverse KOM, they're pretty brutal, and we saw some heart rates going through the roof there. So that's a really good thing for us to watch out on, just to see how the pacing's going. Let's take a quick look at how the standings are so far before we jump down and have a look at the riders out on course. So for the women's A, we've got the Velocity Vixen, the Velo Vixens are leading. They're on 79 points, 4 points ahead of ATP Racing Swarm. So they have been a bit back and forth so far. Revo Scores are sitting in third there.
We can take a look here at the B women. Again, this is all America's West, our final division that we race. It's the Audi women who've been unbeatable so far. The Elliott Ness, untouchable out here with 80 points. That's perfect. Cryogen Mount Evans, though, is coming for them. They're sitting on 4 second places out here. We're into the 4th of 8. Excuse me, this is the 5th. We're looking at 4 scored races so far in season 2 of the ZRL. Wadi Inc. Ice Cat, 71 points right now. Penn Velo WB is right there. This is going to be pretty fun to watch, no doubt about it. The hot competition going on here with the women's Bs, and we'll be checking in with them out here tonight.
Well, let's take a look at the Cs. We've got the Revo Musketeers there, nearly on a perfect score with 79. 80 means they've cleaned up everything to date, but 79 not quite. They've had a bit of competition from the Herd of Meerkats. KRT Lightning Strikes in third. The Herd of Meerkats 2 sitting in fourth. The Fearlets in fifth. Dave, we talked in one of the streams earlier today about a herd of dolphins, and
I heard.
Then we had to try and figure out the collective of that. So do you know what the collective for a herd of meerkats, a group of meerkats is? We'll have to, that might go on the Google list later.
I have a feeling the only person that could possibly know this would be my colleague Martin at WTRL. He probably actually has a bead on that right now. I was surprised to hear that you and Nathan let me down, not knowing that it was a pod of dolphins earlier today as I was listening to the broadcast. So we'll have to talk about that in a bit. It's on the Rivet Haze here. Look at the a mob or gang is what our producer Nathan is telling us. That's meerkats that we're talking about. Wow.
Okay. Look, we're educating
a lot of
masses along the
respect
way,
with that.
aren't we?
Yeah, a mob or a gang. It's like they're shady. Well, look, check for
Yeah,
your
they're
wallet
totally
after
bad.
they go by. Yeah. So um, on the Rivet Haze, Kate with 75 points. So this one's close. Penn Velo, I mean, all they need is a little, well, I say all they need, some help from, oh my God, they killed Kenny, one of our all-time favorite team names. If they can help out, Penn Velo could be tied for the lead. You never know what's going to happen. It's been absolutely crazy out here on the Mighty Met. So Penn Velo was 73, 1 point back is, oh my God, they killed Kenny with 72. Alto Velo Racing Team, 71 points. Dirty Rascals Riot are right there with 69. Then have in sixth is Evo Sonic Boom. Dirty Rascals Rampage at seventh. On the Rivet Rush, eighth. Audi Crikey. Oh, that almost sounds Australian. It's not the right spelling, is it, Kate, for Crikey?
Yeah. No, a slightly different spelling for crikey.
Slightly
but
different, but I mean, yeah, phonetically that works. Crikey, mate. So, all right, Audi, go get them. And then Dirty Rascals Stampede. We learn something new about Australia every broadcast, folks. That's the beauty of having world champion Kate Bates with us. Kate, back to you.
Well, let's see what wonderful gems come out today. All right, we've got On the Rivet Zeal Breakers. They are leading the B Div, tied on 73 points with Evo Sonic Blast. Again, remember that 80 points means the perfect score thus far. So this is a very
Look how
tight
competitive,
competition.
right?
Oh, it is. It's great. TFC Pickle Juice sitting in third. Still yet to try that. Musette La Crocodile sitting in fourth. On the Rivet, TWSS in fifth. KRTB The Big Timbers. And then ATP Racing Krypton in seventh. Dr. Wilbar in eighth. The Dirty Rascals Beliebers in ninth. And Tableau Hot Lunch sitting back in 10th.
Good job to all the teams racing. We'll look at the C's now with Cryogen and Grand Colombier with 79 points. They're on top of the table. Z Sun Controllable sitting in second with 73, 1 point back. And third is ZCD. That's the Zwift Crushing Daddies. A nice exchange with them on the socials. Good job to them. Sitting in third right now in the hunt. Dirty Rascals Padres for fourth. Dirty Rascals Grind at fifth. Z Sunspot sixth. Penn Velo C1 sitting at seventh right now. 51 points, just one behind for Dirty Rascals Affogato on the Rivet Force in ninth and Lightning Velo C in 10th. But hey, Affogato, we might get a bonus point from Kate because she loves that name.
I sure do. We had some interesting names that I discovered for the first time in the EMEA that made me a little bit hungry, to be honest, including Bollinger and
Serrano Ham, right?
Oh, Serrano Ham. That was
I
another
heard,
one
yeah.
as well. All right, Cryogen Mount Lemon. They are leading the D ahead of the Herd of Charging Courses. See, that's almost a bit of a tongue
I can bring you up
that
to
one.
speed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You can bring that. You can bring me up to speed on that one. But you know what I saw and what I've noticed, Dave. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there. Is that we've had a few upsets and surprises so far, that teams that we didn't expect to go that well have all of a sudden ended up on top, and conversely, some favourites have not quite performed. So I think some of these leagues are still pretty open.
Yeah, I really look at the director sportif role on this one day, maybe the most pivotal that we've seen up till now, being able to keep your team calm and collected and get the most out of them. As I heard you saying with Nathan in a previous broadcast, and I really agreed, is the few seconds that you might lose by keeping the team together. It's just, as we say, stalling the beans a little bit for the riders that are feeling strong to not drop other riders. It's a small price to pay. You can pay me now or you can pay me later. And when you pay me later, it's always more, and it's way less fun when you're trying to get everybody back together. And then you've got that riders coming up, riders going down. It's just, a mess. Everybody's all over the shop, and that's what you're trying to avoid out here. It's tough, there's no doubt. But once these teams hit that climb, when you see the teams that still have five riders together, it warms your heart. It really does, because you get a feeling that they've synced up, they get it, and those riders that they've kept, Kate, when they go over the top of reverse KOM, they become so much more valuable, because it is that, like, you're bombing down to the finish line. One of the best feelings in sport. You're on top of a gear, right? As a track racer yourself, you know that feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
People who can't get that form, that souplesse, and get on top of the gear will never really understand what it is to race a track bike. And same thing on a big gear time trial bike, right? When you can get on top of that gear, when you're rowing Dennis and you're on a 5511 and you're going 68K an hour, right? That's what the sport is all about. That's the essence and the beauty of this. When you can do it with three or four others, that's when you're world class. And we'll see if anybody can pull that off out here today.
Yeah, I think we've had some really satisfying moments watching the teams just come together perfectly. Unfortunately, we've had a few moments where it's been less than perfect and less than textbook. And what did they say? There's nothing more certain in life than death, taxes, and the lactic burn that comes when you go too quickly up a climb. Something like that. Anyway, they do have to watch out for that. I think we should
Is
have
that from that
pictures
great philosopher
coming
Anna
through
Russell?
soon.
Is that Anna
Yeah, yeah,
Russell?
the
Yeah.
great philosopher, exactly. All right, let's take a look. Oh, speaking of Anna, we've got Anna Rogers here. Dave, she's one of our favorites. Every week, she's just been one of the more consistent ones, and she plays the role of team director a little bit throughout this series as well. And they've gone down the route of putting numbers in front of their names to kind of indicate the order and the way that they're rolling through. They're only 5 kilometers in, or just shy of. But this is where it already starts to get pretty tough. If they can survive with, as you were saying earlier, pointing to earlier, five, if maybe six, they're down to five. But if they can survive with five over the top of the climb, which is at the 10K mark, then they're doing pretty well, and they're going to find the back end of the course a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, I agree. You really want to almost break this race up. It was interesting, Nathan, in the previous race we did when we were, about 6K from the finish, he went into a racer perspective that I found really interesting, saying, well, at this point now, if you're in a team with five riders, you've got four hard pulls ahead of you, right? So you can really start to break it down into, and compartmentalize the efforts, and that helps for a lot of riders. This Revo Scores team, again, is a fun team to watch race. They definitely personify what the Zwift Race League experience or the WTRL experience, because this team time trialing really goes back to 95 weeks ago, where it didn't invent the discipline of team time trialing, but in the esports it did. And talk about building it from the ground up. What Martin and Stephen were able to do at WTRL is really incredible. And when you look at the process, we were able to watch some starts with the riders in the pens, and you see how there's the countdown clock, and then you have your setback time, and your director will keep everybody informed, and the teams kind of roll up and move into almost a holding bay area before they roll out. And you see how quickly they can get organized. It's just like coming off the ramp in real life. This is beautiful right now. Revo Scores, super impressed. Now they're coming up on the crux of the situation, Kate. This and I just want to reiterate: 1.1 at 5.7%. Make it really 1.4 at 5.7%, because the climb starts before you make that right-hand turn and go into the tunnel. But they're getting into the meat and potatoes of the course here. It looks like an electrocardiogram, to tell you the truth, of someone who just had a heart attack outside the hospital.
Oh, I
Concerning.
love the description you use, David. That is very true. That is very descriptive. I think when Anna and I were commentating on the APAC League, she said that she has almost post-traumatic stress condition from how many triathlons she had to do in her triathlete days, and so I think that not for everybody, this isn't the most pleasant experience. A team's time trial, I think it can bring a lot of anxiety in terms of not wanting to let your teammates down, not wanting to get dropped, and so on and so forth. But when they can relax into it a little bit, when they've done a lot of those WTRL leagues that you were just talking about, when they do know each other, and they can be a bit more comfortable with that, well, then it becomes a bit of an art form and a lot more pleasant than these tough days. Now, two riders from BRT here. This is not good news. Where, pray tell, are their teammates? I think that is them in the background. But Troya and Char, well,
I
they
don't
need to
even think
back off. They're
so.
still putting down some heavy watts, but they need to dial that back a bit because I wonder what's happened here. Joy Connolly and
I'm going to
Alison
take a
Grinnell
guess.
um,
Yeah.
are the ones actually not too far behind. So that's a different team. So yeah, this is interesting. What's happening here? We'll have to find out about
So
that.
I would wonder. I would wonder if, yeah, if you had a couple teammates, they're 6K in, so I mean anything can happen, as we saw with Pio Otto the other day or other week, I should say. But um, is it possible that maybe life caught up to, the riders couldn't make it, and these
Yeah.
two said, "We'll just go ahead and do it as two, even though they won't get a time just for the experience." I don't know. I would actually do that if I had one other teammate that wanted to ride and say, "Let's just go out and do it anyways. I know we won't get a time, but we'll confuse Dave and Kate. One, that's always fun, and this is
Yeah,
a
well,
different
good on them
team."
for being good sports. This is ATP. So this is Joy Connolly and Alison Grinnell leading the way. Barbara Fazoli in there. These are definitely the big hitters there. What you said about Char and Troy just going out and giving it a crack, I 100% agree with that, and I applaud them for doing that too, because I think the only way you progress through these community leagues and ranks is by putting the work in, and that means turning up no matter what. And of
And it,
course, life does get in
yep.
the way for some others. They can't be criticised for that, but good on these pair for not letting other people's life get in the way of their own racing.
And
So
Kate,
good on them.
I've always said that, and I'm sure there's been a lot of coaches that would agree that you build habits, right? And taking a Wednesday or a Tuesday off in the middle of the season it's something that you don't want to train your brain to be acceptable. um, you're going to race. If it's a 8 season or 8 races in season two, you're going to do all 8. And if unfortunately your teammates can't make it, yeah, so be it. At least with one, it's really different. Now, this is what you kind of when you see now a little bit of back and forth. Well, actually, I apologize. That's just going to be ATP going through. Barb Fazoli, super strong rider. We've seen her win out here, and this is where they should really start to stretch their legs at this point as they come up on the reverse KOM pretty quickly here.
Well, that was a bit of a messy overtake. No fault of
Yeah, it's still
anybody's.
a little. I'm going to make
Yeah,
that
they're
Anna.
still quite close there, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm going to make that Anna sound. When you see what you're
Oh,
like.
you noticed that last night? Yeah, she was
Yeah, well,
many noises last night in response to what she was seeing on screen. It was like good cop, bad cop, and delightfully, I got to be the good cop for once.
good for you, right? You're a parent, so you can certainly relate. Looks like we're in with the Vixen now. Here's a squadra, Kate. They've got it all put together right now. They're flying here. As a matter of fact, this is going to be a team to watch today for sure. Haley Gill, Jennifer Girth, Lori Brault, Morgan Cabot, and Pamela Troyer. I feel like I'm missing one.
Alicia Stats, you're missing.
Alicia Stats,
She's
super stats. Yeah.
She's our excellent climber, and we've seen these ladies do quite a lot over the last season and at the beginning of these. I like that they're all in matching jerseys. I love that the jerseys are bright. They've all chosen Tron bikes, save for one of them, I think. But we saw a bit of confusion in the other leagues when they were doing overtakes, and they all had different jerseys on, and it became a bit of a clusterfuff as they all bunched together and nobody really knew visually who belonged where. And we might be having a go sometimes at people for their fashion choice because that's our prerogative as commentators, isn't it, Dave? But it really does serve a purpose as well, actually, to make sure that everyone's coordinated.
Yeah, I agree completely. And there's something about a uniform and mindset. Like I was going back and talking about you never quit a bike race. You never skip a day that you committed to. Well, same thing here. Like when you're on a team, orange doesn't have to be your favorite color. As a matter of fact, you might not like orange at all. What I like is that you're organized. You look like a unit, a G unit, right? And I think that's
Hmm.
part of the fun of the sport is being part of a team, and a uniform is one thing that embodies what a team is. So Alicia Stats out of Seattle, one of the superstars out of the Pacific Northwest. This team is having a beautiful ride out here. Okay, it's going to stretch out a little bit, but this is as compact as I've seen a six rider group at any point out here today. Way to go, Velocity Vixens.
This is beautiful, beautifully executed. By this point, a lot of the other teams we were seeing were quite strung out. I mean, you can talk all day about the different ways to approach a team's time trial in terms of strategy and form, but that generally don't really account for climbs. And what I've noticed is the
Exactly.
teams that are going really well up the climbs are kind of deploying the bit of the blob strategy with one rider setting the pace, but the rest of them bunching around them. Starts needs to maintain a bit of control here.
Yeah.
Her power to weight over a 20-minute period
See,
is the best
this is
in
where
this league. So she needs to have a bit of control here.
completely agree. And this is where and she is very good job not overdoing it now. You don't need to just slam on the brakes, just ease up. The whole team will come back together now. But you make a good point with the watts per kilo monsters, the riders that really excel when it goes over 10%, which is what we're at 7 right now, but there's some very 15% grade. Look how quickly they did come back together, right? So yeah, not no one's going to have the perfect team time trial, Kate. You have to get over yourself with that, right? You're never going to do it
Yeah, you
absolutely
do.
perfectly.
Yeah.
So what you do then is so when you make mistakes, don't overreact, don't freak. Just chill and just continue to make the best effort you can. If something's not going right, fix it quickly, efficiently, but don't overreact.
Yeah, perfectly said, because it's that control and the measured response that is the one. So if you have ridden off the front because you've put a few too many watts through the pedals, you don't freewheel and wait for them to come back. You just ease off a little bit and make sure it continues to flow and maintain a bit of efficiency there. So they are maintaining really good form, all six of them still together. I will note that Hayley Gill, she was impressive last week. Her heart rate is under 140, so she's clearly on a good
Wow.
day. So on the rider screen, the men are out on course there, so they have only just left the pen. They're about 8 kilometres
Isn't
behind the women, so we'll get
140?
down to them soon. But yeah,
Kate,
up the
140 at that
KOM.
point on the climb, that is insanely low.
Yeah.
What does that tell you as a world-class athlete yourself? That she must have an insane cardiovascular system? Is that what you would take from that to be able to ride at this tempo? I mean, they're absolutely flying here. To do that kind of a workload,
Yeah,
keep your heart rate that low.
I mean, she does have pretty good watts per kg numbers, and her raw numbers are also uh, really good. They're up there with Alicia's stats, and it is hard to know what people's maximum heart rates are or where they are um, at form compared to the data that we're looking at. If they were all on the same PB form that we're looking at the data, it might paint a slightly different story. Based on the last couple of weeks, I actually think Alicia's stats is probably not quite as fine tuned as she was toward the end of the last season. So she's really strong and in a bit of a go all day kind of phase, is what I've noticed. Whereas Hayley Gill, last weekend at the after party race in Innsbruck, she just looked like she was cruising. Really low heart rates again, and quite high powers, and really noticeably having to exert herself less than the rest of her very impressive and quick team. And that is something I've noticed. I actually think that if we came back and checked Hayley Gill's Zwift power numbers in a month or so, that they might have all improved a little bit, because it seems to me like she's on quite a steep form trajectory at the moment. But it's pretty good to watch the six of them all stay together up this climb. This is all they need to do is make sure as they go over the top, uh, they maintain the pressure on this. And the six of them, I think that they will be able
They're
to
there.
get some incredible speed going over going down the other side of this. And so far they're looking pretty hard to beat, given the form and the time that the power that they're putting out in their heart rates. They look pretty in control. We'll go and have a look at the B in a minute. But the Velo Vixen, this is pretty textbook performance. And we say that from time to time. We've also said a couple of them are a bit of a dog's breakfast, but certainly we'll look at those intermediate times. 10:01 for the Velocity Vixens through that 6 kilometer mark. So that's moving along fairly solidly.
Yeah, they're going to make a catch here, Kate, now too. So that's going to motivate them even more, as like they needed it now. They're just throwing more coal on the fire here for Velocity Vixen, as they have now crested the KOM or QOM in this case, and will be flying home. So we have a lot to look at out here, but certainly that might be the ride of the day that we're looking at right now. They are like that mob or gang of meerkats that we were talking about, because they just swoop through here. Make sure you got your Garmin's, girls. They might have taken them when they went by there. So a lot to talk about here. Now we are going to go in and take a look at the B women as we are right now. This is Cryogen that we're with. But Kate, just want to quickly reflect on what we just witnessed there with the Vixens. I mean, if you're going to grade that, okay, it's not 100. It wasn't perfect, but that was like a 97 from the school teacher there. I mean, that was
that
very,
was definitely
very
excelling past standard.
Yes, well said. So Penn Velo, another one of our favorite teams, 4 riders here. This is Mace that we're with. Penn Velo has the I was going to say fastest split time. I'm wrong. That's going to be the Audi women with that 9:56. Outstanding. They're 10 seconds ahead of Crowgen. This is Penn Velo that has come through that 10K check. So they've gone through the QOM out there with an 18:58. So we'll see how the other teams stack up at that 10K check. This is the B women again. Boy, you really do. For the riders that were concerned about their performance through the climb, the KO reverse KOM, you go over the top with the team. That is a huge confidence builder. And that's kind of what we've been talking about, Kate, with ZRL. And it's the little things these days in the COVID era and lockdowns and getting together with your people, your women, your guys, and racing and delivering, setting an FTP, that kind of thing. These are the small wins that we can all be proud of out here. So I'm really stoked for all of our racers. Let's see what we've got with Wadi Inc. now. Wadi Inc., a clothing manufacturer. I don't know if they've made their way to Australia, but they've got 3 riders left, moving at 75 kilometers per hour. They'd get a ticket. These are their teammates that they're waiting to, hopefully that they'll reunite here. About 7-second gap. That's a big 7 seconds. 7 seconds when you're going 65k per hour is like 500 meters. No, it's not.
Yeah,
like 200 meters, but yeah.
That is doom. 7 seconds is absolute doom. That's not a good position for them to be in. I'm interested by these split times. They're lightning fast. So the Vixens, who we were so complimentary of, they went through that 6K in 10:01. So it was the Audi women and Cryogen Mount Evans are in the same ballpark. Remembering these are the B category women. I think to a degree that maybe the Vixens have a lot more in the tank, and they can probably wind this up and really bring it home. I will be interested to see what their 10 kilometer split time was at QOM. But what we're looking at here with Wadi Inc. is not a particularly good scenario for them. So
I think they're going to rejoin, though. I think the director or the word has gotten to the riders here on the front that we need to regroup, and they're going to do it. So as you said, now this is where the light touch, the velvet touch, and I think they've got it right. Don't just slam on the brakes and let the 2 riders go flying by. It just makes it that much more painful. This is where you want to, it's kind of like trying to bring a rider back from a flat tire when a couple riders wait at the back of the peloton. There's a technique to this. And it's much like passing, and here's a team passing. That's going to be Cryo, isn't it? It looks to me like it's Cryo coming by here.
Hot Cryo and Audi women are both flying along. So Audi, I was curious about their 10K. They went through in 17:59. The Velo Vixens, they went through in 18 minutes. So both of them, they are very, very close. In fact, The Velo Vixens have pulled back a little bit by that 10K mark. Now, they are in different divisions, but I still am enjoying kind of watching them race off against each other essentially because it is a timed event. And I love that we can then compare so well. So the Velo Vixens, they're on good form. They're just getting faster as they go along in a slightly different style to that Audi crew who started a little bit faster and have faded ever so slightly in comparison. So that 16K split will definitely be interesting. Uh, the and it's funny, Dave, because if you look at this Audi crew, they don't look particularly streamlined and fast. We keep seeing a few gaps open up, um, not only between the first and second, but also between that third and fourth wheel. But perhaps that's actually because they're just pushing so hard that even jumping straight back into that slipstream can be a tough thing to do. But they've only got just over 7 kilometers left to race, so they can almost afford to really leave everything out there at this point. There's no significant climbs left. There's a few lumps because nowhere on this course is flat.
Not much. Yeah,
not too much.
And those lumps that you hit, Kate, you're going into them with momentum as well, right? So it's a lot different if you're, hitting a climb at the bottom of the climb, you're going 22 kilometers per hour versus they'll come into the bottom of these climbs at 40 plus. So they'll fly right over them. It's an interesting run. Once you go over the KOM or QOM, in this case, really just hit the booster rocket and let her burn. And hope you have enough fuel to get to the line. So we're jumping around between a few different categories right now. It looks like we're pretty close, though, Kate, to having everybody, men and women, through that 10K checkpoint. So most of the data we're going to be looking at, I've been impressed to see what we've been able to get with Zwift data here today, should be from that it's a 16K check that we have just 4 kilometers before the finish. Again, we're out on the mighty Met, 20 kilometers of racing with 319 meters of climbing, and a lot of it comes at you in one monster chunk right there in the middle of the race. Just one big lap out here.
Well, this season's a little bit different to the last season in that we've got a bit of a different balance between points racing and team time trials in this one. For the teams that have been around for a while and have done quite a number of the team time trials, that's not a big deal. But for some of the newer teams, it doesn't give them as much time to practice the art that is involved in a successful team's time trial. And again, if we look on the left of screen in the Audi women, these gaps keep opening up. So I actually think if they could nail their technique a little bit more and really drill down onto that they could go really, really fast. And dare I say, they probably should be in the A-League, given the numbers they're putting out and how well they're riding. I wonder what was that comment? Oh, I'd love to be able to see what that comment was on screen, because it's interesting when they comment publicly. But yes, the Saudi crew, they really impress me. I mean, I think a little bit of polishing and they may be one of our front-running teams across the league. So it's a bit of watch this space, isn't it?
Agreed. They are directed by, I don't know if tonight that's true, but in real life, this team exists. Laura Matson-Coe has ridden for the Audi team. She was cyclocross national championship riding in their jersey last year, 2019 now. But V Win, who I don't know if today, because it seems like every time I check, it's either Kristen Kolchinski, Rachel Lieberman, or V Win are the number 1 ranked rider in the world. That is the comment that you were talking about.
Yes.
So there's a
That's
little
very
bit of
polite, isn't it?
Get out of my get out of our slipstream, please.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what they meant. What they meant is get out of my way. But what they said is, could you please not jump into our group? I love how polite they are. And it actually blows my mind sometimes how they manage to be so polite while also riding at threshold. Like, it's quite a skill involved in that.
Not everybody is that polite, I would say.
No.
So
no.
I'll
Maybe
give
they
them
know
extra
that
bonus
it's being live
points.
streamed and this will hang around. So if you're going to comment publicly, it's probably a good thing to have a little bit of decorum.
So the Tron bike question, what was the team we were just looking at where there was one rider who didn't have the Tron? Uh, I'm going to guess that the only
That
reason
was
they
the
didn't
Velo
use it,
Vixens.
Vela
Yeah.
Vixen, the reason she's not using it is probably because she doesn't have it, is my guess, or the slight chance that she forgot to change to that bike. But not everybody out here is a level 50 Zwifter, and I mean, what level are you, Kate?
I think I'm the late 20s, like
Yeah,
my
you're
age,
working your
Dave,
way. Yep,
kind of.
yep. You're working your way through it. So let Hey,
Yeah,
there's
no
a
need to
big
correct you.
difference there.
Keep going.
Yeah, right. Um, so the disc wheel is one of the more coveted things that people are looking for, right? I think that's level 35, I believe. And so there's some of the important gear that you need for team time trialing or time trialing doesn't come until you get into the relatively advanced levels of Zwifting. I think by the time you hit level 30, you could say that you're no hero, but you're into the experienced Zwifter family, or at least conversation. This is going to be the men that we're looking at here, Austin. Excuse me, the women that we're looking at here with Austin of the KRT team, the women C's, I should say, and another catch being made. It's a slow motion catch out here, as it's like watching
Yeah, I
battleships.
mean, a lot of the days it's 4%. It kind of looks like nothing, but 4% is actually quite tough. And this is the old gang of meerkats coming up. I really don't hope they don't mind us renaming them somewhat, or a mob, depending on what you're feeling like. Talking about bikes, our rider on the back our meerkat sitting on the back, I think that's Babcock. She is on a Canyon, actually. Okay, that's a slightly different bike than I thought it was for a second. I thought it was one of those basic entry bikes
Yeah,
in
that's an
Zwift,
Arrow
because we
Road, I
actually,
believe.
yeah, no, that's quite a nice one. But we did see a couple of riders across the leagues earlier who were quite new to Zwift, and there was one lady in particular who was only a level 8 Zwifter, but she was putting everybody else to shame on her very basic bike
Love it. Love it.
up the climb,
It really
leading
is
up the
the
climb. And
engine.
yeah, it is,
I mean,
isn't
we've
it? I
talked,
mean, yes, the bike
yeah,
makes
I
a
mean,
difference, but
it's funny. I respect when I hear Nathan and Anna having the in-depth conversations about the wheels, and it's all true, and it all adds up. But at the end of the day, that's one of my favorite things of doing in real life commentating, Kate, is when you show up and there's the Cat 3 guy that's still racing on the, 1998 Le Mans with Ultegra 8-speed STI levers with the cables hanging all over the place, and the bike is literally straight out of 1998. And the racer just doesn't have the money to buy a new race bike, and he wins on that bike with all the guys on their, $8,000 canyons, and there's something special about that. You know what I mean? There's something breaking away about that, where it's the heart of
yeah,
the
I
athlete.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a
So,
little bit of
but again,
gusto involved in that.
yeah, and also that, hey, I don't care if I'm a little bit embarrassed or I don't have the modern right equipment. I'm into competing and doing my best. And when you can beat all the guys who laugh at you, that's really cool. This is called
Yeah,
Cat
I agree.
Hill.
That's Cat
Yeah, it's
Hill,
just
as in meow cat.
yeah, as in meow, exactly. And I can't believe you got me to say meow on the broadcast. But it
Wait,
happened.
wait,
That
I'm going
has
to snip
happened
that
now.
one up and
So
keep it.
I feel like I just got tricked into saying meow. But
Yeah, you totally did.
so yeah, this is yeah, in real life, I think we're seeing riders disappearing. Well, I'm sorry, they're just flying because they've got about 4K to go there over on for Mondesev of the Fearlets, like that name too. And always be fearless, Kate. Tell your daughters that. Jay
Yeah, well,
Bartlett of
that's
they are
that's what
fearless,
I'm
aren't
teaching.
they?
I really like their kit, actually. I think that's one of the nicer kits I've seen in game. It's certainly very
For
distinctive.
fearless?
Yes,
for
yeah,
the
I
fearless.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the green and gold
Kind of
there.
Astana-ish to me.
I thought that, yeah. So great minds, Dave. I thought the exact same thing about that. We never know why they're down to four. A lot of the teams are actually this week starting with four. So we can't necessarily assume that they've lost riders along the way. But if they have, even if they have, they only need to start. They only need to cross that finish line with four, and so they did start with four. So they've done a good job of looking after each other. The strategy when you start with four is different to when you start with five or six because you really can't afford to make any mistakes at all because nobody can afford to get dropped. And Mundasev, she's got, is that the triathlon headband I think we're seeing? So a triathlete there should be very well suited to this kind of event. And when they're in the final couple of kilometres, it isn't a big deal when some gaps start to open up because they
somebody
need to leave it all out there and push to the finish.
somebody mugged Anna Russell and took her headband there. So
Oh, dearie
the
me.
Jane Fonda look. So that has been truly enjoyable listening to your conversations, and I'll throw Nathan in there as well. The kit compare and contrast what's hot, what's not. Yeah, it's a new element. It should be its own show. I was trying to talk Nathan into creating that. So we'll see. He's got
I'm
a
not sure
vision.
that's
So
what
this
they imagined when they started broadcasting Zwift lengthy
no, that wasn't the
discussions on
plan
headband
at
stops and
headquarters.
kit. I'm not sure
And
that
dolphin
that ever
pods
really got
and
into it.
mobs of meerkats and pods of dolphins. There, yeah, we need to focus in our announcing team a little bit. All right, Stampede with Baines, you and Chuck here. That's a great name, Stampede. Always Calgary up there. They have the Stampede, which is a running of the cows. Fortunately, it doesn't end well for the cows like it does for the team here. A little bit
Yeah,
different
that
ending
doesn't sound like a good
there.
news.
No,
Doesn't sound like
no,
a
they're
good
not
news
bringing them
story.
to a party.
But
That's for sure.
no, they're also really well coordinated. Again, four of the riders on the Tron. We talked about the different levels required. 50,000 vertical meters required for the Tron. But you have to have also opted into that. I made the mistake
I am.
to not
I'm
do
opted
that.
in. So you do
Well,
the
good
Everest
job. And
Challenge. Yeah,
yeah,
you got to. We talked with Nathan about that. You got to trek. You got a trek bike when you complete the Everest Challenge. That's about 9,000. And then, well, Tron bike when you do 50,000 meters. And I'm
yeah. So
20% of the way there,
it
Kate. I'll race
well,
you.
keep on trucking, Dave. Well, I think you might beat me there, given my propensity to avoid hills at all cost.
And
It's
ride Fuego
interesting
Flats
whether or not.
all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Again and again. We can talk all day about what bikes are the fastest and what, and the exact segment times. And it is interesting, and it definitely does contribute, especially in the right circumstance. But what it just allows us to see, glancing at the screen, is just the pure number of hours and kilometers they've spent in Zwift. So,
Yeah,
as I said, we do see some relative newbies uh, to Zwift who do stand up and do well. But for the most part, the guys on the Tron bikes, the ladies on the Tron bikes,
it's
it's
a
not that
great
they're
point.
on the Tron bike that they're doing well. It's that they've spent so many hours in their pain cave slogging away to get to that point,
And
and they know the game very well, and they're obviously very fit.
that is very astute. And it's sort of like that the Occam's razor that they talk about, like when you look at a problem, what's the easiest solution? Well, if you want to get good at bike racing, the easiest way to do that is ride your bike a lot, right, Kate? I mean, it's funny that way. You will get faster and stronger, and then if you really want to take it seriously, it's going to help a lot when you start doing intervals and specific training. But to be honest, just ride your bike across Australia or across America, and you're going to all of a sudden be pretty fit. And then you can decide what you want to do with that. But as you said, 50,000 meters of climbing is that's quite a bit. A huge day of racing at the Tour de France. And I'm talking huge. A 6-hour mountain stage might have 6,500 meters of climbing in it, right? I mean, that would be a really,
Yeah,
really, really big
that
day.
would be a
Like
massive
the kind of,
day. Yeah, I mean, I think
right.
Tokyo Olympics is about 4,500 and they go up Mount Fuji.
For a
So
5.5 hour race, right? You're talking pro men,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. So what's going on here?
Yes.
We've got a bit of Waddy Inc.
Grand Central
Overtake. See,
Station.
this is where they need to be wearing the same kit, and not just for us, but for them, because they need to be able to identify which riders to chase the wheel that are theirs, and which are not.
Wow.
And this is a bit of a dog's
This is
breakfast in terms
insane.
of trying to
It's like a
identify
Congo line.
who belongs
It is
where. Yes, this is not
yeah.
ideal.
And you're like, has anyone seen my team? We're the guys in the gray and red, because you've got, I think, 3 different teams here, and this is going to be a challenge to sort out. Right now, they're all into the last 150 meters, though. That's the good news, is there's not that much climbing left. It seems like it takes forever when you're on a grade like this after what they've been through here. It now levels out just a little bit, a bit of a reprieve. You can start searching around. Somehow the baby penguins find their mom. You should be able to find your team.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good analogy. The Padres have lost a Padre. They need to get their
Down a
4th
Padre.
rider back.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
no.
down a Padre. I'm not sure if said Padre is behind or in front. Perhaps that's him coming into shot there. So we have the 4 of them. Oh, this is great. We've got a Twitch. I love one of the Twitch streams. Oh, here's one of our Padres. Looking good, Padre.
Looking good.
Keep it going. He's looking good. He's working hard. Brian Belmont. Now, I tell you what, if Brian Belmont wasn't working hard going over the top of that KOM, so we've got his Twitch on the left of screen and that delightful face screwed up in a little bit of pain and effort is fabulous. And we can actually see them communicating on Discord here. So the names that are just popping up in order to kind of hustle them along. This is a good strategy.
That's great.
I mean, a moment ago I was wondering where their missing Padre was, but I actually think that they've got it together now.
Looks like he just dropped into a super tuck there, so the whole team very savvy. All right.
Look at the look of relief
Brian.
on his face, Dave.
Yeah, he's loving it.
He looks
yeah.
like, oh, thank God.
Doesn't he look like a nice guy, Kate? That's the kind of guy you want as a neighbor, for sure.
Yes,
he looks incredibly
we do. We
reliable.
want Brian as our neighbor.
Yeah, like
he looks,
better than even Ned Flanders. Yeah.
yes, our resident Flanders. Oh, well, Brian, you're stuck with the name whether you like it or not. Make sure you pedal before that super tuck runs out. We saw that a couple of times that people were waiting a bit on the downhills and they would fly past. Somebody would fly past and a big gap would open up. So it's good to take that break and stop pedaling with the super tuck, but it also you need to make sure you come out of it quick enough.
Yeah, I hate that feeling. I always I err on the side of pedaling early just because I don't want to get caught in that bogging down feeling. So, hey, Padres, good work now. They are down to less than 8K to the finish line here. But as we've noted, it's not entirely downhill. It's not like you're coming down a mountain, but you get that nice little booster after you finish the reverse KOM, and then it's downhill and rolling now. So just kind of keeping together cohesive unit, guys, and it looks like the Padres are going to do exactly that. So they're well on their way to a good ride out here today.
Yeah, I think mentally getting over the top of that KOM is a big relief and a big game changer because you almost know you'll survive. And there's a lot of concern and intimidation that goes into going up a KOM at all, let alone with teammates. But they managed to do it in reasonable style, and now they can just settle it back in and try and pick that pace up again to get that final 7K. But they've done a good job so far.
We've talked about the camaraderie and what we're doing here, and not every team is looking to eke out a half a second and make it worth dropping a rider to do that. In some cases, Kate, and I really can appreciate this, the teams are looking to stay together to get the most out of each other and look as a unit to get better. It's not always just about the metric of the fastest time. You can have a better experience sometimes being able to stay together as a unit, and sometimes it's just flat out a challenge out there. I've noticed in the Premier League how attentive the riders are to the racing in front of them and what's happening around. And I could see zoning out a little bit in the team time trial and just saying, all right, I'm just going to just settle in here, turn my brain off for 30 seconds. And next thing you know, you're 20 meters off the front or off the back, right? Riding by feel can be a little bit odd.
Yeah, you do need to pay attention the whole time. And I think sometimes when it comes to
Sometimes
Zwift, it's delightful to have so much data, but it can be quite overwhelming. So we've got some of the guys on Twitch, I think it is. I don't think I'm quite cool enough to
Waddy
really know
Inc.
what Twitch is, but Waddy Inc. and a couple of their riders. Hey, look at this. They've even managed to coordinate kit on their trainers at home. So for all the criticism we dish out about in-game kit, they're managing to do it from their houses, the men and the women. So I'm impressed with that. Good job, Waddy Inc. And pretty cool jersey too, might I say.
I would agree. Well, that's in-house. That's what Waddy Inc. does is make awesome clothing. So yeah, so style points off the charts right now. Effort, top notch, good work out there. That's a team I love seeing race. They've got a really solid reputation. California, Arizona, big in the triathlete world, that's for sure. They got cheer. I have a feeling, though, that even Anna Russell would approve of what Waddy Inc. is doing. Dirty Rascals grind right now, we're looking at. Now, so not to be critical because they're having a great ride, and three of these guys on Tron bikes, so nicely set up, but we're not fans of the mixed kit, guys. That's the message of today.
Yeah. That's the company line. We're running with it.
Company line.
Get
yeah.
coordinated.
At the end, Kate, we need to run and to buy kit, contact Kate Bates for your in-game kit.
Yeah. This could be a side hustle. This could definitely be a side hustle. We discussed Anna Russell sending or selling whiteboards, Zwift whiteboards for strategy sessions. So that's her side hustle. You've just got to decide on what yours is. Now, Dave, we've got Bath over there as well in shot. And he doesn't look like he's doing too badly, actually. He's also de-essing. I'm not sure if I think he might be de-essing and riding. But
no, but
the avatars actually look like they're cruising along at a pretty high speed.
Yeah, and their kit is rock solid, rock steady crew that we've got, including one rider using the visor. I have a question for you as well, sort of like your friend Anna. You should the aero helmet thing. Why doesn't everybody use an aero helmet? Seeing as how it's in game, it wouldn't make you any hotter. Does it cost a lot of drops? Or maybe that's a Nathan question, actually. But I don't understand why everybody, if it helps even a little bit, we've talked about the tiny percentages, is this team's going to finish up strong. ATP we're in with. Why doesn't everybody use an aero helmet?
If you have access to it, you should absolutely use it. There's no reason not to. I mean, I think there's a degree of people do quite go for their own style points. I feel like people really make quite a lot of effort with their avatars and with hairstyles and have a little bit of fun with that. So that might be a little bit behind it. But definitely if you do have access to an aero helmet, it will give you an advantage. It's quite simple. There's no reason to not do that. And this is what happens once they cross that finish line. When the avatars are stopped dead, that pretty much indicates that somebody is hanging over their handlebars, sucking back some pretty big breaths of air and trying to recover a little bit. For a
reaching
bin,
for
is
a
that what
trash can to reaching for a trash can to use, right? So everybody's almost home now as we're kind of jumping around with different categories. I see we've got Hopwood with the bees on the ATP team, and they're down to about 300 meters. As a matter of fact, they make this turn, and they should see the finish gantry just in front of them. Actually, we've got two ATP teams, don't we, here? I see that there's a million ATP teams.
Yeah.
That's his Twitch. I got it. Yeah. Thank you.
That's going in there. They're in the very closing stages. He's rocking the old blue t-shirt and yellow headband. I actually like his in-person style quite a lot, but they are pushing it all the way to the line. I love that. Regardless of their finish time, that actually becomes quite incidental in the end. The fact that they're working so hard, the six of them actually finished together, which was really impressive. So I like that. It means they worked well as a team. So kudos to them. And great. I love being able to see these numbers. And he averaged 306 watts. I mean,
Wow.
that's pretty impressive effort there from Hopwood. So he deserves a cold Gatorade and a little bit of recovery now for that one.
His fan looked like it was going to take the paint off the wall. Man.
Oh, the fan is a very important part of a Zwift setup.
Oh,
Tell
yeah.
me you've got an industrial fan in your setup, Dave.
I do, but I don't have anything special. I just have a fan that I bought at the hardware store that's just a regular fan. I need to get one of those headwinds from um, that take it to another level because yeah, it makes a big difference. Although I've lucky. My little pain cave has a window that and it's like 0 degrees outside here, so I can cool down easy right now. But yeah, you're right. Fan tech. I'll have to up my game.
Yeah, yeah. I
Ness?
think on people's Christmas lists are fan and updated equipment. So we've got TFC here. Again, they're just with four coming into the finish, but a pretty tight unit, riding all the way to the line. Pretty high powers, over
Yeah.
500 watts, pushing into those couple of 100 meters. So that's a big effort from these guys.
I have to say, strong finish here now. You don't see too many teams bunched together like this. Same thing for OTR. As we're picking up, well, this is a little further out, just over 2K from the finish line with the Padres, who we were with. So 3 Padres now. Sounds like a Mexican restaurant in Denver. 3 Padres.
It could be three Padres, but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we need four Padres, or it's not the
All
restaurant we want
right,
to
we
go
don't get
to.
a time. Yeah,
Uh,
you don't get served with 3 Padres. You need four.
I've liked how they've managed to all come back together, and again, we can see on the Twitch stream he actually Zavaris looks pretty relaxed. He doesn't look to me like he's going as hard as his heart rate would indicate. So we look at their data and we go, "Wow, 174 heart rate." I mean, for me, that's pretty close to the limit. I'm certainly not
That's
looking
a
that composed,
composed
but
guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
he looks pretty chilled actually, given those metrics we're coming through. But that's actually a pretty good indicator that we are going off metrics. But until we can dial into their Twitch stream or the like and understand uh, what's going on. I mean, look at his teammate. We're back
Little
with
different look
Brian.
now. Brian
Come on,
is working.
Brian.
Brian emotes the effort a little bit more, doesn't he? Brian, yeah, man, this is what it's all about right here.
He wears his feelings on the outside, Brian does,
He does.
compared to Zavaris, who's a little bit more close to his chest with, with all of that. But interestingly, their metrics are very similar. Their heart rate is very similar. So it is a bit of a different style in riding as well, and perhaps
Isn't
also
it?
in breathing.
Well, it's funny, Kate. In real life, people are that way as well, right? Some people, I think of like Julian Alaphilippe, right? Super expressive on the bike and all over the place. And whether he's hurting or feeling great, just got a lot of range, right?
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing. I mean, there's some guys who never show any pain at all. Other guys who are like Chris Horner was always known for having a smile on his face, even when he was deep in the pain cave. He just sort of had a default rather than resting bitch face. He sort of had uh, resting smile face.
Smile face.
Default,
Well, there's a
right?
one of the Aussie riders, Luke Durbridge, who's one of our best World Tour riders,
Sure.
and certainly domestic riders. He's very well known for his like fly catching mouth. That the minute he's under pressure, the mouth opens and you can really see the face contort. But over the years, when he was younger, people used to see this face and think, "Oh, he must be close to his limit." But he hits that point and then he just goes into a whole nother area. So it can be pretty deceptive, actually. And I think in some ways the avatar is a bit better. You're not falsely looking at people and trying to pick off body language. You can really only go off kind of the purity of the racing itself. I like that. I mean, it's a bit old school mixed with the new school of esport to like the purity of it. But yeah, I'm impressed with that. And Brian, our mate, he goes over the line in second
Good
with the
job, Brian.
Padres. The four of them all rolling together. So good job, guys. I love seeing them out there and pushing pretty hard in these leagues. Again, we'll see where it all washes up at the finish when we see those times. But for now, we can say very good effort in finishing. Possibly not as pleasant today for some of the riders we just saw who were solo. But one of the herd teams here, the four of them are looking good. Their kit looks good as well. They look pretty coordinated. No Tron bikes, we'll notice, and that's likely because when we go back to the DCAT, they are newer riders to Zwift. And we've got a lady in there because this is not just men, but it's men and mixed. We don't have too many mixed teams, but I love that we do have the option for mixed teams in here. So she's on the purple bike, quite distinctive position as well.
Yeah, we've seen some outstanding rides from the women in this mixed group here, and this would be another one of them. A solid time, as it looks like they're going to sneak in just sub 40 would be my guess. 20K of racing. Again, everybody, thanks for joining us here on our final broadcast of the 5th week of racing here for the ZRL. I've started saying ZRL because of criticism
online. You're becoming one of us.
Yep. Well, they said, what's wrong with this guy with the Z thing? So, yeah, so I'm going to stick with Z. I'm being encouraged by some of my colleagues to not give in. So we're going to do exactly that.
Well, that's okay. From my end, I'll keep wearing you down from this end. So who's more
but it's
persuasive?
Great. It's an international league. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things of this is that international aspect, bringing everyone together. I mean, Zwift might do more for world peace than any government, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. It certainly brings everybody together. And, if nothing else, Dave, it forces us to improve our skills as commentators because we've got so many different pronunciations across a different global group each time we do it. So that keeps us on our toes for sure, not only with the team names, but the individuals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Kate, we need a Scandinavian coach, someone who's willing to come in and help us with the Norwegian and the Danish and Swedish and Icelandic, Finnish names.
Yes.
But
yes, I agree. We had a few funny ones this morning that I almost swallowed my tongue attempting to say them, give them some justice.
Norwegian
with their name.
Norwegian?
I'm not sure. Swedish, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure how well I did, but we'll work on that for next week. Norway, I think that's like a level 40 effort to say a Norwegian name, and I'm not quite there yet. I'm only in my mid-20s, so I've got some work to do.
I'm 100% with you. Cryogen, I mentioned in an earlier broadcast, they have had a great last couple of weeks, and no one deserves it more than the Cryogen family. So it's going to be Cotton finishing up here. We're watching the last few teams out on course here in New York, and we're going to be able to bring in some results in just a few moments here as the sports machine is whirring away and it'll be generating those numbers. But Kate, it's always a pleasure. Again, we're working our way through the middle part of the season now. We only have one team time trial left. That's the final week, Greatest London Flat. But we've got a couple of weeks of points racing to look forward to now again. So,
yeah. So we're on week 5. We've only got 8 weeks this season. And then, Dave, we go into the playoffs. I think we're going to see a lot of pretty exciting action there. It's over a weekend, actually, so slightly different timing. But they do have a points race and a team's time trial there as well. So if we take a look here at the men's Premier Division, so the top 2 eligible teams from each A1 division, so 14 different teams, they will fight it out. And then the top 3 teams will head up to Premier Division. There's actually quite a lot on the line here. There's a lot to keep these teams motivated. So I think that we will see some ding-dong battles all the way to the finish. So for the women, it's 8 teams that will battle it out in that playoff. And the top 3 teams will also advance up to Premier Division. Of course, Dave, though, when a team advances up, that means some teams will also come back down. So it'll mix it up a little bit both in Prem League and also in the Community League, which I think is actually a really good way to keep it pretty fresh. So we've got some results coming through. So let's take a look at those when we can. And of course, it was the Velo Vixens who took the win here, Dave. 1:05 ahead of ATP Racing Swarm. I feel like they... isn't that interesting, though? The same 3.8 watts per kilo. So it just goes to show different styles of riding going on there. And Revo's scores coming in third.
Yeah, I think Velocity Vixen are ready to make the jump up into Premier League. They're there. They might want to reinforce and bolster the team a little bit because there's some heavy hitters up there in Premier, but great job there. I also had to look it up because I wanted to make sure I was right. Do you know what Vixen means? I'm not going to put you on the spot. That's unfair. But female fox.
Ooh. Does it? There you go. I didn't know that. I was about to add that to my Google list, but now I'll just add it to my things I've learnt this week list.
Yeah, which is always a great list, I think. So let me jump in here with CryoGen and congratulate them. Another win. It's the Mount Evans edition with the 3227. That's the gold standard for our Division 1B women here in the West. Audi women taking second today for silver. Cadence taking the bronze. It's going to be Penn Velo WB in fourth, and Wadi Inc. Ice Cat rounds out our top five for the B women. Back to you, Kate.
I love that CryoGen have the mountains in their names. We've got the Revo Musketeers. It is. They took the win in the C Div ahead of the Lightning Strikes by nearly a minute, so pretty dominant ride for them. The Fearlets coming in third, and the Gang of Meerkats, I'm going to rename them, coming in fourth there.
All right, let's jump in then with the men's mixed, because the mixed is a big part of this with the America's West Division 1A, and it's on the Rivet. Hayes taking the win with a blistering 26:39, only 5.64 seconds ahead of Dirty Rascals Riot. That's one of the best races of the day. Bronze medal going to the Penn Velo A squad. Alto Velo Racing Team in fourth. Oh my God, they killed Kenny in fifth. Evo Sonic Boom for sixth. On the Rivet Rush seventh. It's the Edmonton YEG CXA in eighth. Dirty Rascals Stampede for ninth. And Special Teams rounds out our top 10. That's for the A's. Men's mixed.
Well, 5 watts per kg. That's a very impressive mark to set. I also think they're ready to step up to the Prem League. Musette La Crocodile. I always put on a bit of a French accent when I say that, and I don't know why, given how Australian crocodiles are. So I'll fix that. Yeah, bit of mix there with the French and the Aussie. They took the win. They were 26 seconds ahead of the Evo Sonic Blast. The Big Timbers in third. The Dirty Rascals. Believers, they were in fourth. I want to see their playlist given their team name for what they listened to during the race. On the Rivet, TWSS in fifth, Dr. Will Barr in sixth. On the Rivet, Zeal Breakers in seventh, TFC Pickle Juice, probably a bit further down than I would have imagined for the Pickle Juices in eighth. Maybe they didn't have their shot of pickle juice. I don't know. Penn Velo came in ninth, and Audi rounded out the top 10.
For someone who's never had it, I'm not sure that you were allowed to chime in about pickle juice, Kate.
No, that's probably fair.
They don't have pickles in Australia, folks, is something that we learned earlier, or they're very hard to find. Z-Sun Controllable taking the win. Look at this, 31.50 in the C's for men's mix. CryoGen Grand Colombier in second. That's silver spot. Bronze medal for Z-Sun Spot in third. Dirty Rascals Grind in fourth. Herd of Aero Appaloosas in fifth. Wadi Inc. Goat in sixth. It's going to be On the Rivet Force for seventh. Penn Velo C1 in eighth. Lightning Velo C in ninth. And then, we love it, Dirty Rascals Affogato rounding out your top 10 for the C's in the men's mixed West.
Well, it's mid-afternoon here in Australia, so I think an Avogato would be very well needed. We're still waiting on some data to come through for the Ds. This is what we've got so far. We've got CryoGen Mount Lemon. I'm not sure where Mount Lemon is. I'm going to have to Google that one. We did find one earlier today.
Tucson, Arizona.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's pretty cool.
All the Americans and Canadians climb there.
Do they?
They go there.
There you go. Well,
yeah.
we found one earlier today that was in Thailand, but After we figured that
Oh,
out, I was just sad that I didn't say
that's exotic.
Thailand, like the great Donald Trump, because I think Thailand would be more than appropriate given Zwift.
Yeah,
But I did write one thing down through those team classifications because, you know, I'm a notebook and a pen kind of girl, and that is Appaloosa. What does Appaloosa mean? Is that an American thing?
I don't think it's American. I'm going to say South American. I believe it's like
Mm.
a llama, sort of in that family of
Ah,
yeah, sort of a pack
cool.
animal known for
Hmm.
really nice wool. I think an Appaloosa
Oh,
sweater would be considered like world class wool.
highbrow.
So they're highbrow,
Yeah,
top
almost
notch
as
stuff.
highbrow as
Ooh
we
la
are, and
la!
our
Right,
commentary is Dave.
right. This is not an Appaloosa Zwift shirt. I think it's
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, thank
hey,
you very much, Dave, because this was a good week, and this was some pretty impressive performances from some teams. And I love that we can now look at their results and think they are going to earn their rightful spot up in the Premier League. Unfortunately for us, it means we'll lose them to the Community League, but it's good to see them progress through.
yeah, I completely agree. To all of the teams out there racing, this has been so much fun here with season two. So keep up the great efforts. Looking forward to WTRL coming up on Thursday. There's the Zwift Duathlon League. I'm not even going to ask if you're going to participate as a world champion cyclist. You're not allowed to. I hope. As
I'm not.
I
Look,
hope
I'm
you
not a
don't.
runner, Dave.
You don't run,
I'm
do
not
you?
a
No.
runner.
Good.
No,
Yes,
look, there's
I'm
these
with you.
people that are multi-talented, but I'm not one of them. I'm very happy to stay
Well,
on the bike, but I do think the duathlon will be interesting to watch. And we have previously said off air that we would love to commentate it because it would be a pretty interesting race out there in the end, I think.
absolutely. I know I'm going to be watching at the very least. And you know what? I never thought I would have been racing on Zwift either, but slowly but surely. I mean, it is, in the best sense, addictive. You race yourself as well. I mean, it's funny how what's amazing to me, Kate, is when you go back and you realize a year ago, I struggled to do this course at an average of 32 kilometers per hour. Now I can ride it at, 38 kilometers per hour or whatever. And you think that's a significant difference. Like I've come along. It's like watching you count down the holes on your belt, right? These are the things that keep you
Yeah.
going and keep you motivated. And I think Zwift has been so awesome for that. It gives people just something, a box to tick every day, right? It doesn't feel right if you don't get your time in on Zwift. However you do it, keep it up, people. And Kate, it's nothing better than commentating with you.
Yeah, likewise, Dave. So thank you very much for joining us today. And to all of our athletes, your rock stars, your legends, we enjoy watching you race and getting the privilege to commentate on you. For all of the results, head over to WTRL racing and you'll be able to find a wrap up of the week. If you want to really delve into the numbers, you can start to have a little bit of a wager with yourself on who might step up to Premier League and who might move up a division, because that's always an interesting one to watch as well. So we will see you next week for week 6. It's getting very close to the end of season 2, Dave, but we will be with you the whole way to the very end. So we will see you next week, and have a good weekend. May the Zwift gods be with you.